Hey guys, this is Red Pole Q here with another edition of the currently called Asia Hang Suite.
It's like this, yo. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
It's been a while since we recorded, so we've got a lot of questions in. Sorry to all of you who sent in questions, a couple months ago and we haven't gotten to them. But, as you may have noticed from the most recent newsletter that we've been, the Asian Dating Playbook, we've been doing some major upgrades. And now that that's in place, we'll be sure to put out this podcast more often and more regularly. So, which is something that some of you have requested. If you're not already on the mailing list, then you should go to pickupasia.com and put in your email address, and you can be a part of all the new awesome things that are happening that are going to help you get the Asian women you want. Now today, well, first of all, you should listen to the previous episode because the previous episode was awesome. We had a guest on named Ellie who talked about her open relationship and her hope of finding a co-wife. So well worth listening to. And in this episode, we're going to hit a bunch of the questions that we've gotten in over the past couple of months. And we are going to talk about how making this transition in your life and making changes can be problematic with your relationships with friends and family and others, and some advice or at least some stories about our own experiences in terms of dealing with it. I don't know if you'll call it advice, but it's something that happened. So with all of that, let's get into it. And first of all, we have our weekly, or no, it's not weekly. Anyway, we have our regular shout out to a very special man somewhere in Ghana.
Okay, ladies, we have a treat for you. So I'm just going to read here verbatim. For me, I want a very good wife to marry from Korea or Japan. Someone who is very serious. Reach me on etinamukama@gmail.com. That's etinamukama@gmail.com. And we'll post that in the description so that you guys, if any ladies listening to this podcast want to come on and fuck with him, you can do so.
Yeah, and any bitch that might even see my face on this here can come on and fuck with me.
All right. Okay. So let's get through to the first question here. Okay, I'm visiting South Korea and I'm wondering where you would recommend a white girl to go to, quote unquote, pull the hottest Korean men. I find them hot. Never been attracted to Asians before this trip. Are they just being respectful? They don't make eye contact or stare like in the US. Where can I find ones who will pursue me unconditionally? This one in from Jennifer Conti. I assume that's how you pronounce that. All right. Well,
first of all, you should check out Etinamukama.
He's not very Korean or very Asian, but he's definitely gonna holla at you. So so it is often Western women find it very challenging to date in Asia, largely because they don't match what the locals are looking for. However, one of the things that Asian guys are really into is huge breasts because, they're such a rarity in Asia. But at the same time, they feel that Western women are intimidating. Actually, they feel kind of the way a lot of Western men feel. They feel that they're intimidating, overweight, poorly dressed, the usual. Oh, I'm so bad. But seriously, if you want to date Asian guys, you got to get your fashion on point. You got to get your hair and makeup on point. You know, you can't do the Western thing where it's like, oh, well, you're just great how you are. That does not fly. Unless maybe if you're in Taiwan, then maybe. But if you're in any other country in Asia, that is not going to work. You need to put yourself together. You know, that means, you know, all of that stuff. Now, the next thing is that they're going to be intimidated by you in general because they feel like they can't speak the language, for example. And, of course, Asian guys always think that they have... They don't always think, but, you know, they have concerns about their size, and so they think maybe they wouldn't be able to satisfy a Western woman. And so, you know, you have to be more forward with them. But also, another big problem is that Western women, they like to do this challenge thing with men where it's like some kind of combat or something. And, you know, Asians aren't into that. They just want a girl who's, like, nice to them and treats them and is sweet and seems very nice. And so, you know, the snarky, sarcastic comments, those have to go if that's something that you do. You know, you should let them know that you have to compliment them. Actually, you know, there's a really great video that we'll post in the description about an interview with several Japanese girls from a website called Asian Boss, and it's discussing about how Japanese girls feel that they have to act like they're not smart to get guys. Well, that's not exactly correct. It's not that you have to act like you're not smart, but the point is that guys want to be with a girl that they think will be really into them, because if you're not really into them, you're just going to go and cheat with lots of other dudes. So, you know, they need a woman who's going to be like, wow, that's so amazing, you're so cool, and, you know, this sort of stuff. You know, I know that Western women have a real problem doing this a lot of the time. I mean, and you know, and you can see these Japanese girls also in that particular video. So we'll throw that up there, and that'll give you some good insights. And as to where to go exactly, Gangnam? Cheongdam? Apgujeong? Itaewon? It depends what you consider hot.
Yeah.
Because you could go to Hongdae and meet some guys that are like, oh, if you're into metal guys, then you have to go to Hongdae, right? Or if you like guys with lots of tattoos, like kind of tough guys or rocker style, you know, then you would have to go to Hongdae. But if you're into the more traditional, sort of clean-cut Asian man, then yeah, Apgujeong, Cheongdam, Gangnam are the places to be.
Yeah, and if you go to any of the Gangnam clubs, you can look at what the girls are wearing, and then you just like copy what they're trying to do, because that's how you're going to compete with them. So, you know, if you go to a club in Korea and you're not getting any attention from guys, then look at what the other girls are doing and compare it to yourself, and, you know, try to like emulate their fashion, try to emulate their makeup, and you know, like even what they're doing or like where they're standing or, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm. If you have a Korean girlfriend to hang out with, that'll help.
Yeah,
for sure. You know, if you and a Korean girlfriend go out, because they'll know what to do. Be aware that, you know, if you're at a club, then it's very normal that Korean guys will go and just grab you, and that's just normal in Korea, and Korean girls expect that, and they're okay with it. They know how to get away from that if they really want to. So Korean guys do that, and, you know, they'll invite you to their table, basically, and, you know, you can go and you know, at least get your free champagne on, you know, get off your heels, because you should definitely be wearing heels. If you're not wearing heels, it's no big surprise. Now, you might go, well, I'm too tall for heels. No, you're not too tall for heels. Just wear them. Yeah, so there you go. I think that... Oh, and Itaewon. I forgot about Itaewon. You know, go to Glam, Prost, especially. Don't go to Thursday Party. Glam and Prost is the place to be for you. All right. Oh, and Fountain. Almost forgot Fountain. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It's from Amiri Kazuo. I met this interesting Taiwanese girl in Japan. Oh, yeah, this question is great. I met this interesting Taiwanese girl in Japan last month. Now, I don't mean to be rude to the ladies of Taiwan, but If you're in Japan, why are you meeting Taiwanese girls? I don't understand. Anyway, I first started talking to her a month before the trip. She said I'm only into black guys. I'm black, so that's a plus and a minus in my opinion. After meeting her 4 times, date number 1 was pretty bad. My trip ended up with us having sex on the last meeting and having some interesting conversations. She says she misses this and that about me and wants me to spend more time with her. When it's time for me to leave, it seemed like she was concerned if I was going to date other girls in my home country, but didn't want to pursue it. I told her I wouldn't, which I haven't. I guess he means I told her I wouldn't date other girls in my home country, which I haven't, which seemed to make her happy. And that I'll be back to see her again, either when I get a job in Japan or in a few months for my next vacation. I don't know how serious I should take a woman who would only give me her nickname after 4 meetings. Am I getting played or what? So, this is pretty funny, right? You know, when you said she would only give you her nickname, I'm not really clear on what that means because a lot of Taiwanese go by English names. And you know, very rarely in Taiwan do I know a girl's Chinese name.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily consider that to be all that weird unless, you know, you asked her and she like refused to tell you. Now, then that might be a bit weird.
Yeah, but even then, you know, it could just be because she's afraid you're going to butcher her Chinese name. And so she does, or maybe her name is hard to pronounce, and so that's why she doesn't want to give it to you. But if she's just giving you like an English first name, then that's nothing to be concerned about really, because that's just how they do it.
Right. Every Taiwanese person has like an English name pretty much that they go by, and they respond to it just as easily as their real name. And interestingly enough, it's if they meet someone kind of outside of a formal setting, and I mean like school or work or something like that, they tend to use first names. So a lot of times, you know, if you see people out at if you go out to a club or something and there's a group of Taiwanese and a group of Taiwanese meet another group of Taiwanese, because that's typically, typically travel in groups, then they'll usually exchange, even though they're speaking in Chinese, they will commonly exchange their English names. So it's kind of more like their Chinese names are really for more formal occasions. And I think Thailand is like that too, right?
Yep, that's true.
Although the names are not necessarily English, exactly. They're kind of weird conglomerations of
that's true.
English sounding.
Yeah. That's right. They use English letters.
Right.
But, you know, beyond that, who knows?
Is it sometimes those nicknames are on their passport, right?
In Thailand?
Is that correct? I don't know.
I don't know, actually, because I don't think I've ever looked.
Because I think, like, Monolith was telling me that some of them get their English nickname at birth also. It's, like, part of given to them when they're born.
Oh, I don't think that's true for all Thais. I think it probably depends, because a lot of them change their name, or they, you know, don't have an English name, or they don't like their English name, so you know their friends give them a new nickname or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't consider that part to be weird. Now, as far as how seriously you should take a relationship with a girl who is Taiwanese and lives in Japan when you live not in Japan, that's a whole other question. Taiwanese are very odd about the way they deal with their relationships. They take their relationships very seriously, but they also cheat a lot. And I think that they have kind of they kind of think of dating, like having a boyfriend or girlfriend, kind of similarly to like marriage in the West, where it's like they're not going to leave you no matter what. So they cheat because they want to cheat, but they won't leave you. Something like that. Now, not always the case, obviously. You know, we have boyfriend destroyer number 1 over here, also known as McConnell. And, you know, he dated a girl who left her boyfriend after he, what's the phrase that I wanted to use? Left her on the bed as a smoking carcass a few times. That's basically what happened.
If that was your interpretation of the situation, then fair enough.
Well, what else could it be? I mean, I've attempted to destroy a few boyfriends, but I've not succeeded. They just stay with their boyfriends.
Yeah.
See, I'm just a side piece, but you bitches be dumping boyfriends and shit. What's the secret?
I wish I could tell you. I wish I had that knowledge.
So,
if anyone wants a boyfriend destruction seminar, maybe we can cook one up.
Yeah, actually, we could. The Taiwanese, how to be a Taiwan side piece. Maybe we should start a site and call it Taiwan Sidecar. Anyway. So, if I were you, I would not make these kind of promises about not seeing anybody when you don't really know what the future holds for you and this girl. But it's not based on the name, it's just based on the logistics of everything. So, there you go. But it's a personal call. About how much you like her and all of this stuff, but if I were you, I would just leave it open and say, look, I really like you, I want to keep seeing you. And, and I really want to try and come back to Japan and really be involved with you. Although, in Japan, having a girlfriend, why would you do that? If you've never lived there, that's crazy. Does that make any sense to you? I don't know. Anyway, but, I would just say, look, you want things to work out with her. And, and you're going to try and come back as much as possible to see her because, being together and seeing each other is an important part. But, you can't promise that, you're not going to see other people. That's what I would do. That's pretty much what I always do. So, there you go. Do you have any comments?
Nope, no further comments.
Okay. Cool, let's move on to the next one. How popular are Western chatting apps in Asian countries, specifically the ones that don't restrict usage of outside apps? Is Vietnam not a popular dating or area to meet girls? Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what you mean by Western chatting apps.
He probably means WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm. But maybe he means Tinder.
He could. And Kik?
Oh, I thought that was like a Russian fake thing that girls used to make money.
No, that's like a messenger that they use in America, too.
Really?
I don't know that much about it, but I know that it's used in America.
Usually the only time I see Kik is when I get an email that's like, hi, dear. I found you on the internet, and I thought, one of those.
Oh, yeah.
But you can find me on Kik. I just assumed it was like something that that has all these fake fees or something.
Oh.
Something that maybe...
It's a free app. It's a free app. But, and it's kind of like, it's like a WhatsApp sort of thing.
Oh, okay. Well, if you mean like WhatsApp, then we talk about this in another podcast, but I'll just briefly say that, WhatsApp is pretty popular in Hong Kong and in Singapore and Malaysia, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Kik, not popular anywhere as far as I know, although, I don't remember what they were using in Vietnam, but, oh, right, that's right, because I was there with the girls, so I didn't meet any girls, so I have no idea. You should, if you're talking about Tinder, then Tinder is pretty popular in Taiwan, in Thailand, in China. Although, well, they do use it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it is blocked, so they have a Tinder clone. Imagine that. Probably one day we're going to go to China and it's just going to they're just going to have replica copies of London. You're just going to go there and it's like, oh look, you're in London now. Oh look, you're in New York now.
Very likely.
So they have Tan, which is kind of the local Tinder. So they also, but generally speaking, each country uses a different chat app. The main ones are Line for Japan, Taiwan, and Thailand. Kakao Talk for Korea, or those who love Koreans. WeChat for mainland Chinese, although other Chinese countries, people are frequently on WeChat because it's the only messaging app you can reliably use across in China, across the Great Firewall. Now, as for Vietnam, so no, Vietnam is not very popular for dating. I'm not really sure exactly why that is, but I think that generally for people who've been to Vietnam, the reports are generally that there's low volume of girls that are attractive to Western men as compared to other parts of Asia. And that's probably largely because, they're still a relatively poor country. They're just up and coming. And so a lot of their grooming isn't on point. They don't, I guess there's a lot of nose hairs and mustaches on the ladies and not a lot of makeup and leg shaving. So this is, these are by reports. I mean, imagine that it's very, obviously there's like an elite that travels a lot and has been to the West and knows these things and knows what, Westerners expect. But it seems that the vast majority are still, up and coming, sort of, fresh off the farm. And so they haven't adopted sort of Western standards of beauty, or I guess you could say even Asian standards of beauty, actually. Certainly they haven't adopted Japanese standards of beauty, that's for sure. So I think that's one of the reasons. So it's the beauty factor, or the grooming factor. It's the low numbers of women, and the fact that they're relatively hard to meet, I guess. And a lot of the dating there seems to be with guys with prostitutes, essentially, or girls that aren't prostitutes but are poor, and so they want to date a Western guy who easily has more money. So there you go. Having said that, I mean, I think that Vietnamese girls can be quite attractive. So arguably more attractive than, some people would definitely say more attractive than other Southeast Asian countries. So there you go. We got a comment from someone saying that we should make this weekly. I don't think we're going to be able to make it weekly, but maybe we can do it bi-monthly. Maybe we can do it every 2 weeks or so. We'll see how it goes. Okay, next one. Hi, I'm going to Korea in about 4 months. I know a decent amount of Korean. Do you have any tips on how to approach a Korean girl and start a conversation with her, like in a way that shows I like her? Oh, do we have tips for approaching Korean girls? Wow, funny you should ask. First of all, there's on Asia Dating Experts, there is a whole category called Meeting, which is about how to approach girls in general in Asia. And as it turns out, if you go over to pickupasia.com, then you can see that there is an entire full weekend course that's all about how to approach Korean girls and start a conversation with them, like in a way that shows that you like her. So it's I definitely recommend that. Also, if you're coming to Korea, you should join the Korea Lair. Go to korealair.com and sign up there and fill out the application form. And you'll be able to get in touch with a bunch of guys that are all about approaching, especially now that the weather... Okay, well, it hasn't started getting warmer in Korea yet, but it will in sometime in March or April or so. So, there you go. In terms of tips, basic, smile, don't stand too close. Speak... You can speak in Korean. That's if you speak Korean, start with Korean. Don't expect her to talk back for the first, minute, 2 minutes or so. So make your opening, whatever you say, the first few things, pretty interesting and engaging, but don't require her input. So, yeah, there you go. Do you have any other?
No, all good advice.
All right. All right, here we go. Next one. G'day, RPQ and the gang. Hey, gang.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your advice so far. The podcasts have been great. We need more of these. We're working on it. I wanted to ask whether you guys are happy to share girls or... Oh. I wanted to ask whether... Oh, McConnell just leaned in. He's like, whoa. I wanted to know whether you guys are happy to share girls or introduce girls you used to date to your friends. Have you guys ever been introduced to the swinging scene or BDSM scene in Asia? Is there even these kinds of scenes like in the West? Any of these questions would be fine to tackle. Peace and love, Lou Skunt, Melbourne, Australia. All right, well, maybe you have something to say about this?
Well, if you didn't listen to the podcast, I think it was like 2 podcasts ago.
Yeah, maybe number 20?
20, yeah. Yeah, go listen to podcast 20 because we talk about going to a happening club in Japan, which is actually just basically a swingers club.
We didn't go together, although maybe next month.
Yeah, so you should definitely listen to that podcast because I think you'll find that very interesting if you're into the swinging scene or the BDSM scene. Yeah, those are both pretty big scenes in Asia, especially in Japan. And apparently in Korea too, but you don't really see it as much. And everyone's really busy in Korea, so they don't have time for their hobbies like they do in Japan. And also here in Taiwan, there's also a pretty big BDSM and I guess swinging scene too. But again, unless you know the right people, it's pretty hard to get into those scenes. Whereas in Japan, I would say that if you're just interested in that stuff and you go to the right places, then you can pretty easily become involved. So yeah, definitely go listen to that podcast.
There's actually another podcast episode that kind of addresses some of this stuff. Remember early on?
That's right. Yeah,
we did one with what was his name? With our old roommate.
Oh, Golden Boy.
Yeah, Golden Boy.
Yeah.
That's right. With Golden Boy, where we talked about our sexcapades.
Yeah.
And there was some discussion of the BDSM swinging community in that podcast too. I think it's like number 5 or 6 or something like that.
Right. Yeah, and if you're into BDSM, you should get on FetLife.com, and that's like a kind of like a dating site for people who are specifically interested in BDSM. And they have meetups in cities all over the world. So even if you're not in Asia, you can check that out and see if there's a meetup near you.
Now, as for sharing girls, as a general rule, I've never done that. I've had a girl shared with. Okay, I shouldn't say I've never done. I've never shared my girls with someone else, but I have had a couple of situations where guys have shared girls with me, I guess. One time, it was a long time ago with Renaissance. Renaissance, basically, it was a girl. She's like one of those girls. So she was very interested in pickup. This is how, so the Renaissance was one of my clients. He did a boot camp with me, and then he picked up this girl, and he told this girl about pickup. And so she was really interested, and he decided he wasn't really into having sex with her, but she was sort of interested in pickup because she also liked girls. So he introduced her to me thinking that, maybe I would be keen to, maybe involve her in the business, maybe go out and pick up girls. But after I had sex with her, I realized why he didn't really want to. I don't know. You might have been into it. First of all, she did those really super sloppy wet blowjobs that a lot of guys like, but I just really don't like saliva dripping down my ass crack. For other guys, they're all about that, but for me, I don't know. I'm not really into it. So, and then there was another time, I think it was in the Sexcapades episode, where I kind of had a foursome, sort of, but it was me and it was me and a girl I was dating, and then a friend of mine and a girl from that he knew from a swingers club, and he basically was like, yeah, here, why don't you have your way with this girl? So I did. So yeah, and in terms of sharing, I mean, we have a roommate, Mr. Wright, and we've made it abundantly clear that we're willing to help him to satiate his girlfriend's needs, but he hasn't taken us up on the offer yet. But I think it's only a matter of time. I mean, most recently she said that she said that she's gonna make him, next time they meet, she told him that he has to fuck her 3 times a day, and he's been using the magic wand, or the Japanese version of the magic wand called the Thrive, which is much cheaper, to take up some of the slack, but he's worried that it's desensitizing her, so He's going to have to go back to the old-fashioned ways. And wow. I think he's going to need to call in a pinch hitter or two. And I'll be there with the catcher's mitt. So I think that, yeah. So there you go. I think that's the answer. In general, we don't date girls who other guys have been with. I mean, there's so many girls. Why even bother? You know. I think that's kind of one of the differences when you have this sort of cold approach thing down. You know, it's like you could, but it's sort of like, wow. You know, if you introduce, if you start sharing, or if you have girls that you used to date and then someone else dates them, it can make things complicated. It's just easier just to get something fresh. Or not so fresh. All right. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. Right, 2 questions I want to ask you are about Korean girls. 1, do you think Korean girl is easy or difficult to talk to, I guess? And 2, what is the best topic to talk with them about?
I don't think Korean girls are... Okay, if you know how to do pickup, or you have any experience doing pickup, and you know what it's like, you know what a typical progression is like, and you've had enough sets where things don't really faze you that much anymore, then Korean girls are not that difficult to talk to. If you do not know pickup and you don't have much experience approaching girls, then Korea is going to feel very, very difficult, and you will likely be very frustrated there. So Korea is a difficult place to learn game, I would say, and it's probably the most difficult of the Asian countries. So if you're going to Korea, I would recommend doing some approaches before you go there in your home country, because you have the advantage of speaking the local language, and then you can you can at least get some rejections under your belt and feel more comfortable with approaching. Because when you go to Korea, you don't have language on your side and you don't have culture on your side, so it's going to feel a little uncomfortable just to begin with. So having some pickup knowledge is very helpful. In terms of what to talk to them about, in the West, there's this whole thing about how you have to talk to girls. I mean, guys who aren't into pickup in the West, how you have to talk to girls about like things, shared interests. You need to find shared interests. Like, let's find something that we both like and talk about that. Don't do that.
You love Gossip Girl? I love Gossip Girl too. Oh my God.
Yeah, don't do that. Big mistake. So in Asia, guys try to find shared interests, and then they, they're not having any luck with that, and they're like, oh, these girls are so boring. No, just stop doing that in Asia. What you need to do is you need to make sure the girl's having a good time, get her laughing, spike her emotions a little bit, and give her a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. Get her having fun. You meet girls out at the club, they want to have fun, so make sure she's having a good time. And then,
or at the cafe or on the street.
Yeah,
anyway,
right.
They want to have fun.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like they if they're talking to you, it's not so that you can bore them more than they're already bored, or that you can
seriously
give them a hard time, or you can like make them, add to their stresses about stuff they have to think about.
Yeah, so keep the conversation lighthearted and fun. That doesn't mean you can't find out things about her, and you should be finding out things about her, but do it in a fun way. And like Red Bull Key was saying, we offer an entire course on on how to do that. So yeah, that would also be helpful. But yeah, so if you're not into pickup already and you go to Korea and you don't have that many approaches under your belt, it's gonna feel difficult. But just understand that that's how Korea is, and don't let it discourage you.
Right. People think that Korea is difficult because Korean girls don't seem very excited about talking to a foreigner as girls in China, for example, are, or can be, or as girls in Japan, I guess. Well, Japanese people are a lot more emotionally responsive in general. So you get a lot more feedback positive feedback from Japanese and Chinese and certainly Thai girls than you do from Koreans, and that's why people think it's kind of rough. But Korean girls are great.
Yeah.
And if you come on and do one of our programs and learn how to do this stuff well, then you'll be squirting girls in the alley in no time, right, McConnell?
Oh yeah, that's right.
All right, you go for a drink with a girl, you meet a girl on the street, you go for a drink, then you take her back to the street, and you make it happen.
That's right.
All right, let's hit the next question. Hey guys, love the podcast. I've listened from the start. Well, thanks, man. I hope you read this on the podcast, and your hopes are coming true. Christmas question. Okay, I know Christmas is a bit past, but sometimes we get sidetracked. How to get the girl to do anal when you know she is intrigued but scared to do it. Also, any role play scenarios or dress ups you found have worked. Thank you so much. Anita Hanjobi from the Philippines. I'm a little bit confused. Normally in America, Anita is a girl's name. So are you wearing a strap-on and banging girls, or is that a guy's name in the Philippines? Anyway, irrelevant. So maybe you want to start by... I'm a little bit confused as to whether this role-play dress-up scenario is part of the anal thing, or if that's a separate question. I think we should take it as a separate question, right?
It says also, so maybe it's a separate question.
Okay, so maybe you want to field that, because that's... I'm a normal guy. I don't really do this kind of freaky shit.
Yeah. Neither do I.
Just last weekend, McConnell almost sent a girl home in a costume.
Well, I also don't do this freaky shit, but hypothetically, I can answer your hypothetical question with my hypothetical scenarios.
If I did happen to have a costume in my closet, or 2 or 3 costumes, then maybe what I might do.
Yeah. So this question, you're saying any role play scenarios or dress ups you've found that have worked, but to me they all kind of work. It's like if the girl's wearing the costume, then of course it works. I don't think there's any that work better than others. So
what's the costume when you're the dad and she's the daughter? What's the costume for that?
You don't need a costume for that. That's all in the mind, man.
Oh, okay.
So
you seem to know a lot about this.
So I would say that what you should do if you want to do role play or dress up, probably the best thing to do is to go shopping with her and find some costumes that she can wear. So you can do that on the internet. There's obviously lots of sites that offer cosplay stuff. And
for those of you who don't know, cosplay is Japanese for costume play, and it means basically dressing up and role playing.
That's right. So you can go online. There's lots of shops online that offer cosplay outfits. Or I don't know in the Philippines where you would go to get this stuff, or if you can get this stuff, because I've never been to the Philippines. But, maybe you can look around online and see if there's any shops in your area that you could go to, because that's always fun, is, going to a shop and finding stuff together. But yeah, definitely if you can't find a physical shop, then, you can look online with the girl, and you guys can pick some uniforms that you both like, and then order those, and then, just have fun. Have fun together. With role plays, it depends on what you're into, pick some scenarios and then just try them out and see how she likes it.
Do you think there's anyone who's into like a husband-wife role play? Do you think that's a thing?
Yeah, Blue Mystery.
That's not a role play.
Blue Mystery is one of the... How would you describe Blue Mystery?
Oh, he's one of the old hands in the pickup Asia community.
Yep.
He did the very first boot camp that we had in Korea back in 2007 in November.
The former Korea Lair leader.
Right, former Korea Lair leader and co-founder. And he also runs Korea Dating Tips.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah, well, he is very interested in the husband-wife role play. He was so interested that he turned it into a real-life thing. Anyway, so Yeah, so I guess that should answer the question. You know, just try some scenarios out and you know, pick out some costumes together and yeah, have fun.
As for the Christmas question, well, the main thing is that, you know, you don't want to start with your penis. You need to get her accustomed to having things in her bum. So, you know, usually I start girls with tongue, but, you know, I understand some people, they're not really into that. But, you know, my sort of opinion is, if I wouldn't put my tongue there, why would I put my penis there? I mean, think about all the weird places you put your tongue and the things you put in your mouth. And I wouldn't put my penis anywhere near any of that stuff. So that's, you know, my way of looking at it. So, you know, they got to get used to it, and they have to get used to the sensation, and ideally, you know, not ideally, and also it needs to become a pleasurable thing for them. Because typically, early on, you know, girls often feel like, oh, it's kind of gross or disgusting or something like that. You know, because, well, you know, shit comes out of there. So they kind of are, and women especially are generally speaking, quite concerned with their cleanliness because they know that guys are concerned with their cleanliness. And so, and, you know, they don't want to be seen as a dirty woman. And so, you know, they tend to be very worried about anything that's going to go on back there. But, you know, obviously, if you're willing to put your tongue there, that'll definitely loosen up her concerns about it being a dirty place, at least as far as you're concerned. And then, you know, generally I'll start with one finger and then work up to 2 fingers. And then, you know, and then 2 fingers can be enough. Maybe you need 3 or 4 fingers. You can use butt plugs. When you do it in that way, in small incremental improvement. Well, I mean, it's an improvement. It's like, oh, look, it can open wider than before. I guess I would consider that to be an improvement. Yeah, then they're not so scared because each step is small enough that it's not really very scary. As it turns out, we discussed both role plays and dressing up and anal progressions in quite a lot of detail in our sex seminar, which you know, you can go to pickupasia.com and look under courses and you can sign up for that. Okay, let's see. What else? All right, next question here. Hello, Red Pole and McConnell. I'm a Canadian living in Korea. My question is to do with living in the same area as girls. I'm currently living in Seoul and sometimes bump into girls I'm dating or used to date. How do I deal with that situation? Because it seems to happen on a regular basis, and I like to date multiple women at once and keep them all happy. What should I say if girls meet each other or see me with other girls? Apart from moving, lol, what would you suggest? Would appreciate your thoughts. Gabe Athouse. Well, that's a great question, Gabe. Especially, you know, I like that you like dating multiple women and you want to keep them all happy. That's how I feel, bro. So, let's see. It's interesting. I've never really had this problem really all that much. I mean, I did have the problem of running into girls when I was with other girls, but typically that was when I was at a club or something like that, and then, you know, it's not that hard. I mean, it's much more difficult if you're walking down the street hand holding or something like that. So that's the first thing, you know, no hand holding, right? So, you know, it seems kind of weird. A lot of guys, they feel like this is pretty weird at first, but in Asia, hand holding isn't really that big of a deal. So, or I mean, isn't commonly done among couples. So if you just stop hand holding, that'll be fine. So, you know, you can put your arm around her waist or around her shoulder, or, you know, any various configurations like that. And in general, what I found works best is if you're with a girl and you run into another girl that you're seeing, then you can just introduce them. And typically you won't want them to have much time to talk. You have to maintain control over the conversation. So, you know, you run, oh, hey, you know, you're in Korea, all right? So, oh, hey, Eun-kyung, this is Ji-young. How are you doing? It's really nice to see you. What are you up to today? And she'll say, oh, I'm going to do whatever it is. And you go, cool. Well, you know, we're going to go get some food. I'll talk to you later. And then leave. So by maintaining control over that conversation, you make it so it doesn't veer out of control. Because what can happen is if you just stand there with your mouth hanging open, then she goes, "Oh, is this your girlfriend?" And then you're like, "No." And now the girl that you're with is like, "Wait, what? How can you know?" Not because she thinks she's your girlfriend, but because now she's like, "Oh, so now I'm the girl that's fucking you and isn't your girlfriend. Aren't I a slut?" So she's sort of lost face because of that. And you've just made it really awkward because also the girl who asked the question is now like, oh, he has a girlfriend, or oh, he doesn't have a girlfriend, or oh, I'm in the same position as this other girl, and it's just bad all around. So if you just introduce them by name very quickly, then it can, and then you move on the conversation by directing another question at the other girl. Then that is the smoothest way to handle it. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can say a little thing about the person, like, oh, Eun-kyung, this is Ji-young. Ji-young just came back from, a trip to the Philippines, and she was just telling me all about it. You went to the Philippines, right? And, oh, yeah, I did. It was really nice. Cool, yeah. Well, anyway, we'll catch you later. Nice seeing you. And then, once you have maneuvered through this obstacle course, you can message the other girl that you ran into soon after. You can just be like, hey, it was really good to see you, And basically, by making it seem that everything was really cool with you and you weren't uncomfortable at all, it makes the girl go, oh, okay, there's no reason for me to feel anything weird about this, and everything's fine, and maybe they're just friends and whatever. And so that's the way to deal with that. So now there's some other things you can do. Like you can vary the routes that you take. So, instead of going down the main streets, you can go walk the back streets more frequently. That's another thing you can do. Definitely what you shouldn't do is avoid the girls or pretend. Well, you can maybe sometimes pretend like you didn't see them, but it's actually probably better if you pretend that you don't see them, then you might message them and they're just have disappeared on you entirely. Whereas if you engage with them, they go, oh, okay, I guess everything is fine. So there you go, because they expect that if you're doing something quote unquote bad, then you're going to act weird around it. And so by acting normal, and if you don't engage them, who knows what they're going to go thinking, and they're likely to go thinking the worst. Do you have anything to add?
Nope, that was pretty thorough.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. Next question. Hello, team. This show is so useful. Thank you so much. Well, you're very welcome. I want to ask about meeting a girl's friends. You want to make a good impression, but also not freak them out. I find when I meet a girl's friends, they already judge me for meeting them through day game. How to keep the friends happy is what I want, because friends have a big influence on the girl. Thank you. Eton Beaver? Okay, I don't know if that's a real name, but anyway, you're very welcome, Eton Beaver. Actually, maybe you want to field this, because we just had you've been trying to work the friends over quite a lot recently.
That is true. I'm a little confused when you say that the friends already judge you for meeting them through day game.
Maybe he means they think he's awesome.
Yeah, right. Because if you meet girls through day game, that's like the scenario that girls like most, because it plays most into their romantic fantasy of like, oh, I was just in the cafe and he came and talked to me, and it's really like a romance movie for them. So, I often think that girls feel much more uncomfortable when you met them at the club, or nowadays on Tinder or on dating sites, or whatever. Because girls don't really want to say that they were using those apps, or at the club it makes them seem kind of like a slut or something, because they like met some guy at the club, even though obviously lots of people meet girls they date at the club, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Thursday party, brass monkey.
Yeah, but if you meet her through day game, that's nothing to I don't think the friends will look down upon you for that. Yeah, so
I would definitely agree with that. I think the most common objection might be that they think you do that all the time.
Right. Or if you approach one of the friends before. So maybe there's something going on there, but if you just approach the girl and and there's nothing, there's no reason for them to be suspicious of you, then it's like it shouldn't really be a problem. In terms of how to impress the friends or make sure they're on board, pay attention to the friends. Don't ignore them. Like, talk to them and be genuinely interested in who they are. Essentially you're just doing pickup with the friends, but you already have your girl. So, do the same sort of things, BT spikes, that's buying temperature spikes, which means, pumping their emotions or like saying things that evoke some sort of emotional reaction. Be funny. Again, like I was saying earlier to the other question, keep the conversation lighthearted, don't be too serious, make sure everyone's having a fun time. But yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is being interested in the friends, and because when people like talking about themselves and they like when you show interest in them. So yeah, make sure it's not just about you and your girl, but it's about like the whole group.
I want to add in that you should definitely talk up how much you like your girl and how great she is, and you should tell them about all the nice things she's done and make it seem like you're pretty much totally smitten. Because the concern is always that, like, if you're running this in a way where she's not your girlfriend and you have like an undefined relationship, then she feels she invariably has some mixed feelings, because part of her really likes you, which is why she's going along with the situation, but part of her feels bad because she appears to be kind of slutty and dumb for fucking some guy who's not her boyfriend. So when you talk her up and talk about how great she is, and once again, I talked about face earlier in another question, and so once again, you're basically giving her face, and so her friends are like, oh, I guess he really is into her, he really does like her, oh, he's not just using her for her vagina, she's not just some stupid slutty friend of mine. But actually she's made a good decision. So there. Now, for those of you, so just a moment ago, McConnell was talking about BT spikes. So what you can do if you're unfamiliar with BT spikes, or in general, if you want a good primer on pickup, you can go to my site, redpollq.com, and click on the link Basics. And that will give you a nice overview of the pickup process and what it's all about and all of the elements. And definitely really necessary. These days people really have no foundation at all for what is supposed to be happening when they meet girls. So that's the foundation, and it's why I wrote it. So go and check that out. Okay, next one. If you want... do you have...
No further comments.
Okay. So that's all the questions.
Yeah, and we're just at about an hour now, so
okay,
that worked out pretty well.
All right, well then I guess we can close it off then. We next podcast will probably be out in March. Not probably. We'll definitely put another one out in March. Maybe we'll even put out two, because we seem to be getting a lot of interest from you guys and a lot of questions coming in, and we want to do more than just answer questions. So
yeah.
We'll get on these a little bit more. But keep the questions coming, and next time, since we didn't get to it this time, we'll talk about friends, quote unquote, that hold you back from success. All right, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
That's right, and we already mentioned this, but if you want more information, you can go to our websites at pickupasia.com and asiadatingexperts.com. and malefashionguide.com, and we'll post those links in the description.
Also, you should probably mention about your YouTube.
Oh yeah. So for those who don't know, I'm running a YouTube channel now where I discuss fashion of all types, and most of my videos run about probably like 7 to 10 minutes. And I have 3 videos out, and they each are breaking down some sort of fashion in music videos or movies or TV shows. And so so go check that out. We'll post a link to the YouTube channel because I don't have enough subscribers to have a custom URL yet. So we'll post the link in the description. Or if you search McConnell Wade on YouTube, you can probably find it. But anyway, we'll post a link in the description, so check out those videos.
They're very, very good. I highly recommend them.
Yep. So yeah, I think that's just about it. Oh, and in May or the end of April, we are going to have the All Asia Summit, the eighth annual
All Asia Summit.
Wow, time flies.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to have the 8th annual summit, and the dates are not set yet, but maybe you guys want to start thinking about blocking off some time. It'll be either the end of April or the
last
beginning
weekend of April or the first weekend of May.
Right. So Red Bull Q and I will both be there, along with many different personalities. Hopefully Sage will be attending this year as well.
We definitely hope so.
Yeah.
If you haven't, really gotten a chance to hang out with any of the wacky people you've heard about in the podcast, then that's one of your best opportunities too.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that we are not just all talk. We do lots of weird things in real life too, not just on the podcast.
Yeah, that is for sure. Okay, well, thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next time.